Hey guys, how's it going? It's Blepnir here with another team review, and today we're going to be looking at ORANGURU in the Ultra League Premier Cup. Now, ORANGURU is such a crazy fun pick with access to confusion. It deals massive super effective damage to fighters and poison types, namely Tentacruel and the most common fighter being Poliwrath, the two water types. And ORANGURU also has access to TRAILBLAZE, which is also good against water types. And obviously, Feraligatr is very common. Feraligatr's fast move in Shadow Claw is resisted by ORANGURU's normal typing. So, all in all, a fantastic choice, I think, in this current meta. It also does well against Lantern, and Lantern's seen a huge rise in this meta. I think that access to TRAILBLAZE is so powerful because it'll deal super effective damage versus the water types, and it also boosts your attack. So we're pairing it up with Pidgeot in the back, and so now we have this backline that has one Pokemon that buffs its attack and another Pokemon that debuffs the opponent's attack. And these two work together very well because one of them is able to force alignment by buffing its own attack in ORANGURU, and then in the back, the Pidgeot is able to debuff the opponent's attack and should be able to take care of it that way. And on the lead, we have Annihilate, and we kind of need a fighter to deal with the Steel types and the Dark types. And Annihilate is the perfect choice because it has such good coverage moves in Shadow Ball and Ice Punch. And yeah, it just formed a fantastic lead for this very powerful buffing and debuffing core. Let's see how this team does in action. So first off, we have Annihilate into Skeledirge. This is a terrible lead. This is actually one of the worst leads that you can face with this team, but luckily for us, ORANGURU and Pidgeot both have very positive matchups with the Skeledirge, because obviously Skeledirge can only hit for resisted damage with the Shadow Ball or with neutral damage with the Disarming Voice. Of course, they could have Crunch, but we have yet to face a Crunch Skeledirge yet, folks. And you see here, they go for the Shadow Ball, which deals a little bit more damage. I'm pretty sure that they just saw my Psychic typing and assumed that it would be super effective or at least neutral. We are in a fairly lower ELOs. We're in like the 2400s here. So that is understandable. But they come into the Ampharos, and Ampharos was honestly a very common sight, I feel like. And Ampharos takes a good deal of damage, honestly, from these confusions and from the Trailblaze. It's kind of insane. The confusions were basically dealing twice the amount of damage that the Ampharos's Volt Switches were doing after the Trailblaze buff. And what you're going to discover in these battles here is that ORANGURU is incredibly bulky. And so it was really showcased here with how low we got the Ampharos, and we're able to farm them all the way down. And I think this is a good demonstration on the Annihilate's flexibility, because you can see here that it's able to bait with an Ice Punch and get a shield, and then it goes into the Pidgeot, and this is basically game over here. They have the Lantern in the back, but I'm not one to quit, guys, so I decided to play this one out, even though seeing a Lantern in the back basically spells defeat because we are in even shields, and my Annihilate is very low. It has no fast move pressure, but we're still going to play this out. Let's see what happens here. I am going to shield this because I do have two shields at this point. It's a Surf, so that's painful, but actually after this next Feather Dance, a Thunderbolt is going to do about the same amount of damage that a Surf would have done before the double debuff here. So honestly, it's not a huge difference. We are going to let through this Thunderbolt. We kind of have to. We have to navigate our way into somehow landing a Brave Bird on this Lantern, and for it to be enough damage to take it out, which means we need to get a couple of counters on this Lantern. This is a very low chance of working out move, guys, because yeah, so we're obviously going to take this move because this is quadruple debuffed, right? So we have to take the Surf, and then we have to throw the Shadow Ball. We're not going to make it to double Ice Punches Honestly, if we had Night Slash, this would have been such a better situation for us. But they let that go, and that is really insane. If they had just shielded that, they would have 100% won the game there. And so this is huge for us because suddenly we have a win con, which is that they shield this Ice Punch. You know, this is only one away from the Shadow Ball. So, yeah, they do shield that. And very fortunately, we do get off this Brave Bird. And this is one of my favorite wins, honestly, just because of how unlikely it was. How much this Brave Bird did. Boom! This is showing off that Pidgeot is an insanely OP Pokemon. Way more OP than Lantern, which I actually don't have a Lantern yet for the Ultra League, but I'm very proud of the Pidgeot for showing it up. That Brave Bird just did so much damage, I couldn't believe it. And Lantern is pretty bulky too, so that was very impressive. So here's a Dragonite, and Dragonite is one of the most common leads that you'll see, I feel like, in the Ultra League Premier. Dragonite in general, one of the most common leads, but it's not Shadow, and that's a little bit better for me. What I found to do is that I go for the Ice Punch immediately, because usually they don't throw immediately. They know that I can sneak through a counter if they throw immediately, and that means that I want to throw immediately so I can get a shield. And then they throw a Dragon Claw, and I have a good energy advantage here. I go for the Trailblaze immediately. This is going to do a lot of damage. Look how little damage the opponent is doing with Volt Switches compared to my Confusions. Going forward here, you're going to see that these Volt Switches after this Trailblaze, so we're boosting our attack here, right? And our Confusions do so much damage to the opponent. I could not believe it. And their Volt Switches are doing so little. We get to this Foul Play. This is after taking a super effective Brutal Swing from the Ampharos, so we still get to the Foul Play. Really good show of Oranguru's bulk. Really good show of Oranguru's bulk. I couldn't think of a lot of Pokemon that could put us into this 2-0 shield advantage here other than Oranguru. And so here is where Annihilape really shines. As I've said before, Annihilape is so good because of its coverage moves, in this case being Ice Punch and Shadow Ball. In some cases you do want Night Slash and Close Combat, or some permutation of Night Slash, Close Combat, Shadow Ball, Ice Punch. In this case, I think that Ice Punch and Shadow Ball is a really nice coverage moveset. And you see here that they have a Superior in the back. So this is actually the first Superior I've seen in the Ultra League ever. It's a really fun sight to see. A very rare sight because honestly Superior is just like not a very good pick, I feel like. There's so many other grass types that are a better pick than Superior. But props to the opponent for running this very spicy pick. I've wanted to build my own Superior for a while, but like I said, it's just not a lot of reason to use Superior because of the fact that there's so many other grass types that exist. Pure Grass is not a bad typing. Also, it has access to Aerial Ace, and Aerial Ace can be quite nice versus like Glissopods and Poliwraths that it might match up against. But at the same time, I feel like Venusaur is a better option just because it hits so much harder, and the poison subtyping is so much better, and also because it has access to Sludge Bomb, which I think is a better coverage move than Aerial Ace. But moving on, so we see a Shadow Dragonite this time, and this is a little bit more challenging than that regular Dragonite, to be honest, because it's just going to be hitting so much harder with these Dragon Breaths. Honestly, the move here is probably to double shield, and they can just deal so much damage with these Dragon Breaths. It's insane. They farm up so much energy here, but then they switch into Jellicent, and this is the worst swap that you can make into Oranguru. I don't want to be over exaggerative here, but this is very likely the worst swap you can make because of the fact that at this point, after boosting my attack with the Trailblaze, I can just farm them all the way down. This is such a safe matchup. You don't see very many more matchups safer than this Oranguru versus Jellicent. It's also a great display of Oranguru's bulk. You know, Surf, it's not a terrible move here. It's a very moderate level move, and yet it does like 20% of the Oranguru's health. It's a very small percentage. And it does look like they would take us out with one more Surf, which means that we are going to take them out here, but we just raise our attack even more, and we have residual energy here. So honestly, this is a very strong position, especially when they come back in with the Dragonite. And so they do have a lot of energy here. That is the danger. We do shield here. And they have a Feraligatr in the back, and this, I think that this should just be game over because they're going to shield this, right? And then we come into the Annihilate. This is very questionable because we have to let the Annihilate go at this point. Maybe I should have gone into the Pidgeot here. Let's see if this is actually a bad idea. They do undercharge the Hydro Cannon, or maybe they just didn't do enough damage with the Hydro Cannon. So yeah, suddenly this is very, very sketchy here. I think I'm like kicking myself here because I think I just threw this match ultimately by shielding up that Dragon Claw from the Dragonite, because I know that they have another Dragon Claw loaded or even a Superpower loaded. Let's remember how much they farmed up with the Dragonite before swapping out. So yeah, they definitely, this is definitely not over. They are going to throw this double resisted Ice Beam here. Let's see how much this does. That's still a lot. That's double resisted, double debuffed, I should say. And now they get to a move. If it's a superpower, this is game over. It's a Dragon Claw. We barely live it. This is insane. This is might be one of the most insane wins that I've ever gotten. If we do get this win, we do have to live one Shadow Claw here, folks. And we live the Shadow Claw. We don't have to live the Shadow Claw. We have to just KO at the same time that they KO. With one wing attack to their Shadow Claw, we did still have the Oranguru in the back, and that was an insane win. I was really happy to win that. But next up, we have Mandibuzz in the lead, and this is a negative lead because they're dealing neutral damage with these Snarls, and they're doing super effective damage with the Aerial Aces. They outpace us to Aerial Aces. But at the very least, we kind of force them to go down into the 0 shields if they want to win this match. So let me walk you through how it works. So we throw this Ice Punch, and at this point, we should be able to force them to throw 3 Aerial Aces, or else we'll counter them down, right? Because we can shield this one. And if they let this next Ice Punch go through, I think we can just counter them down. So let's see what they want to do here. I think that they're probably going to shield this, right? Yeah, they have to shield. And so this is fine. Honestly, Oranguru is avoiding this Mandibuzz, and it's very likely that Oranguru can have some play in the back if they lead with a Dark type. They have to shield this. Otherwise, we just take them out. So let's see if they're willing to go down into the 0 shields here. They let it go, and that's really good for us. They come in with Charizard, but now we're in the control of this match. And you're going to see here that they're going to expect that I go for the Feather Dance here. Are we going to go for the Feather Dance here? We shield up this Dragon Claw. It's for sure going to be a Dragon Claw because they're expecting me to go for the Feather Dance. Blast Burn, that's really good, honestly. So I think that them going for Blast Burn there really affected their choice here to no shield. That is so good for us that they no shielded there. And then we come back in with the Oranguru. They let me get a free confusion in with Oranguru. That's very kind. They have a Machamp in the back. And this should just be game over because a Cross Chop is not going to be enough to take us out. A Rock Slide is not going to be enough to take us out. Payback will take us out, but it's so expensive that we should just be able to completely completely wing attack them down here. So yeah, they take us out with the payback. But this, even though cross chop was buffed this season, this cross chop is not going to be enough to take us out. Pidgeot's got some bulk to it. Pidgeot's got good stats, you know, even though it only gets to 2436 CP with that Best Buddy boost. Somehow it still has pretty good attack and pretty good bulk. I'm not sure how that works, guys. Comment down below if you know how Pokemon stats work that allow it to have good bulk and good attack when it has such low CP. Moving on, so they have a Shadow Nidoqueen in the lead here, and very sillily by the opponent, they actually don't farm up to the Earth Power. So of course I'm going to know the counts for Earth Power, right? We do not shield up the Poison Fang, and we are just going to go straight Ice Punch, and we should win this in any shielding scenario here. We can shield up this next Poison Fang. This time they do farm up enough for the Poison Fang, I think. Maybe they're still one short. Regardless, we are going to shield here because they have double shielded. And now we should safely be able to do 6 more counters and then throw our move in, and the move should be enough to take him out. We throw our Ice Punch. Not gonna lie, this is kind of a panic throw here, just because I wanted some time to think about what I wanted to do. So I would have been in a much better spot here if I had not thrown that move, because we had so much energy on the Annihilate that energy could have gone a lot of places. And I'm thinking here that if they come into Umbreon, they have to have a double dark backline. There's no other reason to go into Umbreon here rather than being double dark. So we no shield the first foul play, because very likely whatever they have in the back can be farmed down with Annihilate with a shield advantage. And so that's our thought process here. So we do take that full damage foul play. Maybe we should have shielded the first foul play, because, you know, then they would have only landed double or quadruple debuff foul plays versus us and dealt no damage here against the Pidgeot. So maybe that was a good choice, just because we kind of expect there to be a Obstagoon in the back, because Obstagoon is the second most common, or I should say third most common dark type behind the Umbreon and the Mandibuzz. It could also be Mandibuzz in the back, I guess, but then I feel like they would have switched out sooner. But regardless, they do come back in with their Nidoqueen here, and this is going to be kind of close. We definitely didn't play this out as smart as we could, just because we threw all of our energy with the Annihilate right at the beginning. They have a Scrafty in the back, which is kind of surprising. We haven't seen a lot of Scrafties, but Scrafty is a slightly more fragile than Obstagoon, and they're gonna go for the Power Up Punch here, and this is not fantastic for us. They're gonna be able to ramp up their attack, and we go for the Trailblaze. They switched to Umbreon, and I think that this actually lost them the game, honestly. They could have just stayed in with the Scrafty and just farmed us all the way down. They do throw here on the Pidgeot, but we should be able to counter them down before they can get to a move on the Annihilate. And so this is going to be a very nice farm down here. This is definitely not over, because they have a fair bit of energy here with Scrafty, but I don't think that they get to a second Power-Up Punch. If they get to a second Power Punch, then obviously the move here is to no shield. And we go for the Shadow Ball here instead of the Ice Punch. Shadow Ball being single resisted, Ice Punch being not resisted, neutral damage. Because the Shadow Ball, even resisted, does a little bit more damage. We know that we're not going to get to 2 more Ice Punches. So we do go for that move. And thankfully, we take them out before they reach another Power Punch. That was very close, actually. Very close, because I think that they were almost at that Power Punch there. But moving on, so for Alligator in the lead, this is a very bad lead for us. And we switch it to Oranguru, and they're not switching out, which is so good for us because we're single resisting these Shadow Claws, and you're gonna see Oranguru's bulk on display here. That is some crazy bulk to be able to take not even 50% damage from these Hydra Cannons. We're gonna force a shield here, and that's enough for me. Forcing a shield is enough because the confusions are going to do so much damage that we can just counter them down after this before the Annihilate takes too much damage. And so we're looking real good. Because they stayed in the lead, we are going to be able to fully wait out our timer here and then go into Annihilate. And they're not even going to have a timer advantage because our timer's already up. They do get to a Hydra Cannon, obviously, but we can just safely shield this up. We should get some energy. We should be able to use this energy somewhere in the back, having the coverage of Ice Punch and Shadow Ball. They have Dragalge, and so here, I think this is actually a mistake. We should have gone into the Pidgeot immediately. Instead of staying with the Annihilate, we should have gone into Pidgeot. Basically, the strategy with Pidgeot is that in situations like this, where they've revealed their third Pokemon, you want to switch immediately in order to apply the Feather Dance debuff as quickly as possible. They do go for the Outrage versus the Pidgeot. So here, this is definitely a mistake. This is definitely an example of how you shouldn't play this team, because if I had just gone in immediately, I would have outpaced them to the first Aqua Tail with the Feather Dance, and I would have been able to debuff them immediately. But here, this actually does invite another win con for us. I think that they honestly threw the game here because they could have just Dragon Tailed us down instead of throwing that Aqua Tail. So we got lucky here. We have an Annihilate versus their last two Pokemon so it's an Annihilate in the back. And so here, they're still... so they actually switch out the Feraligatr right when I get to the Shadow Ball, which was not a smart choice because, of course, I'm not going to throw the Shadow Ball immediately, right? I will wait until I think it's least likely that they'll catch. And I think that right at the beginning there is the most likely time that they'll catch. So very fortunately, they throw at the expected time. I'm able to farm down. Even though they have Night Slash here, which makes this slightly scarier, they're not going to reach another Night Slash even before I farm them down. If they reach another Night Slash, it would have not taken me out. But if they got the boost, it would have taken me out. So that was kind of close in the end there. But yeah, once again, just showing the power of the Oranguru there. Oranguru was a safe swap. Left the Feraligatr completely stumped. And we got to see a lot of mileage out of that Oranguru, I think, this video. I love Oranguru. It's one of my favorite Pokemon. I've used it so often in the Great League and in the Ultra League, and now finally in the Ultra League Premier to a lot of success.